We're back on Head On here on Shaw TV. I'm Ian Holmes alongside Spencer Anderson from the Daily News, also Dominic Abassi with Highland Radio, examining the upcoming civic election here in Nanaimo. Let's get on to the mayor's race in Nanaimo. 10 candidates running for mayor. That is a record. And also incumbent Mayor John Rattan. We'll flash those names up on your screen right now, as there's a bunch of candidates, and we can't rattle off all these names. The Whites' names are the incumbents, and that is John Rattan, along with the other contenders there as well. This is going to be really interesting, guys. The strength of an incumbent is always seems to be there, especially if a certain municipality doesn't burn down in the previous 3 years. Dom, I'll start with you. What do you read into John Rattan's chances to get re-elected for a third term in Nanaimo?
I like them. I really do. He sort of kept everyone waiting around. I think behind the scenes, people knew that he was going to be running for re-election, and he kind of waited until right towards the end to officially put it out there. But he does throw his hat in the ring, and I like his chances because the bottom line is when you're looking at 26% voter turnout, name recognition is the huge part of this. And last time, I believe you have the numbers there, was about 8,000 votes, was it, that Rattan got last time, or just over that?
Yeah, 8,815 to Roger McKinnon's 5,366. Roger's running again.
Right, and
here.
Roger's running again. And then we were chatting about this before, but you have Bill McKay in the mix, who, to me, and not to paint either of these candidates in any way, but to me, a Bill McKay and a Roger McKinnon, they're not hugely different. They're guys who care about business and they want to see this city move in a really progressive direction. So those guys are going to be battling it out for a lot of similar votes. And you've got John Rattan, who's got the advantage of being the incumbent and did pretty well in the last election. So I'd say it's his race to lose, in my opinion, at this point.
How do you see the mayoral's race going down, Spencer?
Well, I asked John Rattan if he felt his incumbency was an advantage, and the quick summary of what he told me was he wasn't really sure. And I think that you know, there are advantages definitely to being an incumbent. Name recognition, people know you. People also associate you with decisions they like. The downside though is that people can also associate you with unpopular decisions or unpopular policies. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays. I mean, he's a two-term mayor. He did attract a significant number of votes. Whether that holds or not remains to be seen. But it's very hard to predict. I mean, reporters aren't in the business of predicting anyway, but it is very hard to predict because there are so many candidates, and the voting pool, if it increases or decreases, either way, it's going to be chopped up in different ways. So as a voter, I think it makes your choice harder because there's more choices. As a political watcher, it makes it much more difficult to predict what the outcome will actually be.
What could be even harder to predict is how the council race is going to go down here. 8 council seats available. We'll flash the names up on our screen right now for viewers here at home. We have 5 incumbents after these 8 available council seats here up on your screen right now. There's some very recognizable names throughout this list. Not even enough to fit on one screen. So in a couple seconds here, we'll flow over to screen number 2. All kinds of names. 26 people. That's a huge number. The incumbents, Bill Beswick, Diane Brennan, Ted Greaves, Jim Kipp, Fred Patchy. Dom, this is going to be an interesting dogfight for council.
Well, I think it's actually going to mean that these people who are running for these positions, it's going to come down to who actually runs a legitimate campaign. Who puts forward the effort, the signs? I drive around town and signs are allowed to be up now. How many of those 26 don't have any signs up around town? That's going to hurt you. I mean, that's the reality of the situation. There's a reason why election signs are everywhere. It's because people respond to them. And if you don't have a sign up, that's probably going to hurt you on voting day. If you haven't made a Twitter page, a Facebook page, or a website, these steps, I think that show commitment and perseverance to the wanting to be on council and really having the will. If these candidates don't take these steps, they're probably not going to get very many votes. And I think that's going to be a huge part of this, is just being visible and running a real campaign. It's not, I don't think, going to hinge so much on what issues you stand for and what issues you don't. It's just going to be putting yourself out there.
Those 5 incumbents that I rattled off there, Spencer, do you think their jobs are safe?
Well, I mean, it's really, really hard to say. I don't know if anyone really knows the answer to that. You know, I think, as I say, I think there's advantages to being an incumbent for sure. I mean, one interesting thing is that, you know, at the very least, we're going to get 3 new councillors next term, because Diana Johnston and George Anderson are not running again. And Bill McKay, whether or not he's successful in his mayoral race, will not be returning as a councillor. So there's 3 spots there up for grabs right away. So, you know, it'll be interesting to see how many of the familiar names return. I mean, some on council have very, you know, traditionally solid support. And if you're an incumbent, your challenge is to make the argument and make yourself visible. And chip away at that. And you know, if you're an incumbent, your aim is to hold on to as many votes as possible, obviously. But you know, one thing that makes it hard to predict municipally is the voting system. It sounds dry and boring, but the truth is that it really is unique to, you know, government in Canada, the municipal level, because you can vote for, you get 9 votes, you get 1 for mayor, and you get 8 for council. So how those votes are dispersed and how that adds up, I think really is sort of the wild card here, right?
Yeah, getting the vote out on election day, that will certainly be very key. Guys, we're flat out of time. Thanks so much for coming in. Really appreciate it. Dominic Abassi with Ireland Radio covers Nanaimo City Council meetings, as does Spencer Anderson for the Nanaimo Daily News, as we get an in-depth look here at the election in Nanaimo coming up November 15th. Thanks so much for tuning in for another edition of Head On here on Shaw TV. I'm Ian Holmes. We'll see you next time.